Hello, hello. I'm actually now animating this commercial that I'm working on. So I thought I'd show exactly what I do and, you know, take you through the process of what I'm up to with it. Now, this is the first shot of the whole thing. And if you've seen any of the other videos, you will have seen me rigging this character here, the in inverted commas, first woman. There have been a few changes with her since I rigged her. Her arms weren't really behaving in the way I wanted them to. So the main movement that she does is a sort of stirring motion. So what I wanted to be able to have is the arm move correctly whenever she stirs the stuff, because she does this repeatedly. So as you can see now, that movement is actually pretty nice. I'm really happy with how that works. I've got these things that are allowing me to sort of manipulate the kind of middle of the curve, and then this kind of bit that allows me to sort of widen and squash the arm part, and then these brown donuts that change the actual sort of connection point of the hand. But yeah, if I move the hand around, she can stir and stir away. Now I've got this bowl which is connected to the hand. If we have a look at how the stuff is connected up, let's just go here. I learnt this technique. Basically, you have 2 exit points from any character's node that then can connect to any prop that they use. So one hand is connected up to a spoon, and another one is connected to a spoon, and another one's connected to a bowl, and the mixture inside the bowl and stuff. Now the mixture is just a simple sort of blobby shape that I can roll around to sort of give the impression of being mixed. And I've got these cells, because what happens is she sort of makes the mixture and then flings out these cells of badly drawn characters and sort of flings them around. So I'm going to leave them for now. What I'm going to start with is her mixing the bowl, and then she's going to fling out the mixture. But I want a kind of loop. I think I want a kind of loop anyway to start with. As you can remember, she can do this. So when she's stirring her mixture, I might agitate a little bit. I don't know. Actually, I might not do that. The point is that she's supposed to be a kind of 1950s, 60s animated character. So the idea of excess movement, of subtlety like that, which you would get on a more realistic character, probably wouldn't occur. So I think that would be a mistake to actually have these subtleties of movement. But yeah, anyway, let's see how we get on. So this is the character. I can move her there. Yeah, let's put her at the top, at least for now. Oh, no, don't want to do that. Yeah, just leave it like that. Right. Now, I'm gonna start by, the way I animate is in a more stop motion manner. So I start with frame 1, and then I just move a little bit over, and I go to frame 3 in this case, because I'm working on 2s. And I would just move to the next place like that. And I move again, another couple of frames, move again, another couple of frames, move again, another couple, move again, another couple, move again. There we go. So let me just turn off the sound. That's what we've got there. Right, I would say that was a bit too slow. Now I am going to make some mistakes when I'm animating, because I do not like talking when I'm animating. I've often found when I have to explain something when I'm animating, I just find it so hard to do. So because I use sound as a means of figuring out timing, and if I'm talking, of course I can't hear the beat in my head so easily. So if I go silent every now and again, that's the reason. So be prepared for me to go silent. I'm going to get rid of that and start again, because the rhythm of her mixing is not fast enough. And in fact, I might actually do it on 1s, so that I can get a little bit more definition in there over a quicker period of time. Let's see what that looks like. That's not bad. So what was the first frame? Okay, so if it starts there again, and then I copy those frames over and paste them. That's quite nice. Now then. I think I'll paste another one. So I might mark that last image. I think that's the one I want. Mark the frame. That way I know when the loop is. So it'll be there as well. Because I'm going to probably need this again. There we go. So now at some point she's got to fling 3 of these out. So I'm gonna, when you're flinging batter out, I'm acting this out. You can't see this, but I'm acting it out now to just remind myself what to do. So I've got to now dig into the bowl using that. So the first thing, in order to get that motion, is turning the hand around. Now, I would say I'm going to forfeit this particular image, and I'm going to start digging it around. So if I have a look at the drawing substitutions, I've got another hand that's in that position, which is more what I want that to be. I'm probably going to actually, or would that work? Yes and no. What I'm going to do is take these fingers and alter them in a second, but I just want to make sure that that's right. So that's about right, and then I need to sort of dig in with the spoon. Now the reason why it's cut at that certain place is because there is a cutter, a touch patcher I've called it, which essentially cuts into the spoon. So by selecting this artwork, if you want to know what the artwork is, it's this little patch of green here. And I don't have to look at it. I can, so long as I'm selecting it, I can then use the lasso tool to of the contour editor. Couldn't remember the name of it. To just nab away. Now the problem with doing this is that I'm affecting any instance that this drawing is used. So I need to create another one for this to work. So I'm just going to duplicate the artwork. And now I've got 2. And that won't affect any other instances that this artwork was used, because this is one of those times when I just need to sort of fiddle around. If this happened on a very, very regular basis, I would actually create a deformer and just squish the drawing around. But there's no point in that. I'll just substitute the drawing. So there we are. You see, we've got 2 pieces of artwork there. And then I'll do the same thing with this. So again, if I duplicate the drawing, I've now got drawing number 3. And then I'm just going to go in there and alter the artwork so it's not, so it looks as if her fingers are actually wrapping around the spoon like that. There we go. So she's digging the spoon in. Now, let's just have a look at what that looks like. Don't want that happening. Let's go back to that. Right, so let's have a look. So this is a transitional turn. On the next bit, she's really digging in. I would say move that up a bit. maybe down that. And I need now for this hand to be more, to look more like that, with the thumb on that side. Unfortunately, when dealing with hand movements, there is a lot of draw and redraw. So again, with this, I duplicate the artwork. So now I've got drawing number 4. It should show me, yeah, hand number 4. So there we are. It's not selecting it in there, which is annoying, but I think it used to do that. Yeah, it is if I select it again. Anyway, drawing number 4. And then I'm just going to alter the artwork again so that I get more of the sort of shape that I want out of it. Now I'm using Command to fiddle around with the artwork there. Ooh. Yeah, let me just check something. Good, yeah, okay. One of the advantages of the auto patch, which I always recommend with hands, that's something that I've created, an auto patch, is that you don't have to sort of fiddle around with the artwork's layering too much. You can just go in there and duplicate the art, and you get that patch technique, you see, automatically onto the arm. The last thing you want to have to deal with is extra steps. You know, it's fiddly enough work as it is without having to then, I've got to then join it up to the hand and separate the art layers. No, just use what you've got and adapt it. There we are. That'll do. I mean, honestly, this will be on screen for hardly any time at all. There we are. Not quite right, is it? Oops. Well, does that affect it? Yeah, a little bit. Now, I think I do need to actually flip that spoon around. So again, I need to duplicate the artwork and then fiddle with that just so that we get a better result. So I'm just going to give the impression that now the spoon is rotating around. That's better, that'll do. And then again, so now I've got 3, and I'm just gonna do it so that we really do look as if we've now got it on almost profile. Subtle as this is, I mean, sometimes when you're first animating, you think these things don't matter. Some things don't. Some things genuinely don't matter. You know, I've been on productions where people have been fiddling and fiddling and fiddling with things that I know nobody will notice. And then other things people really notice. And one of the things is hands. Hands matter. Hand angle really matters. I've seen so many bad walk cycles ruined because of bad hand placement. There's something about hands and faces are the things that human brains really, really notice if they're wrong. And I think that's one of the reasons why AI is so bad at replicating them, because most of human brains are designed, and we've got huge brains, but most of it is designed for 2 things: colour and faces. And I think I wonder if hands also plays a part, because we can recognise a poor hand very, very quickly. And that is something that AI struggles with very much. When a hand isn't right, when we've got we can accept 1 too many fingers quite easily, or 1 too few, but we know something's off. We can't quite put our finger on what it is. Now, this line as well, I will also have to fiddle with. And what I've done with the line is I've actually automatically connected it with another drawing, which is a patcher, to get rid of it cuts into the spoon basically. So you can see these 2 dots on the node. I've synced together these 2 drawings so that if I create another one, another one will automatically be created on the other one as well, and they're always synced together. So drawing one will connect with drawing one, and drawing two, whatever. Now I'm going to create a new line. So we now got drawing 3, and I'm just going to alter that just so that it's a little bit more like that. And again, you know, if you were rigging this for something more thorough, you would do it differently to what I've done. But this is not, you know, we've got to get this done, so it's not that important. Right, so now I would say that needs to come back, and the digging needs to happen. And it's at this point that I probably, yeah, there we are. I'll just rotate that a little bit because I don't think it's quite right. Let's have a look. There's a lot of playing back. Now, I've said this before, and I would say it again. Onion skin is not something you use very much for animation, at least at the early stages. I mean, there's no rules here. If you want to use onion skin, of course use onion skin. There's no, you won't get the animation police come round. But I would argue that onion skin isn't really a tool that's best used for animation much. It's more for sort of clean up and figuring out the finer points later, really. You want to figure out movement, and the best way to do that is flipping, which is what animators would do. They'd turn off the light table and they'd flip the drawings. We need to see the comparison quick and edited. If there's too much line work, I don't know what I'm supposed to look at. So you need to see that, and the one massive benefit of doing digital animation over, you know, traditional paper stuff is that you can see real timing in real life, you know, as you work on it, which is what you do when you're a stop motion animator. You would play it back and you would see, is the timing right, whatever, you know. So I'm going to get to this stage now. When it gets to, I think, this frame, in fact, I'm just going to move that over. So we've now got 2s. There we go. Because what I want her to do when she gets to that point is get a sense of slowing down as she's about to wrench some of this stuff up into the air. So there's a certain amount of energy storage that's going to then eventually be flung. So stir, 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 and then slow. Stir, stir, stir. Now I'm doing this again with myself. So stir, stir, stir. And it keeps that movement going, which unfortunately isn't happening. Stir, stir, stir. I should have done that earlier, I think. That turn. But that's all right. A lot of the work can be salvaged. Stir, stir, stir. And the turn should be happening around there. So what I'll do is get rid of that and that and that, minus, stir, stir, and then move those over. And this is the wonders of digital work, is that you can do this. If it was stop motion, I would have deleted some frames and gone back. You know, this is what happens, especially when you haven't animated for a while, which I haven't. You tend to make a few mistakes to start with, because you forget. It's not uncommon. And then once you get into the flow, you just know what you're doing again. It's like the tune-up of an orchestra. You know, if you haven't done it for a while, you really do have to tune up and say, oh, hang on, you know, I've got my wrong positioning here, and this isn't quite right, and in your head, amongst other things. Okay. Now, I'm just trying to work out how that would work. So I've got that in my hand, and then that would So I've got this massive thing, and then it would come under my... So to get that pose in real life, you would have twisted your hand more like that. So it would be more... I think there'd be more of a sense of this... Hang on, I'm just trying to work out. So that spoon really should be more foreshortened. So essentially, to get that, you would have the spoon in this direction, facing the camera, basically. So if you were to twist your hand around, which I can recreate. This line can be turned or altered artwork-wise. Yeah. Let's just get that hand in the right place. So let's get another... Well, I can actually alter that because we're in the mid-turn anyway and it's not used anywhere else. I'm just going to turn that because this has to give some sense of foreshortening. And then that goes up. Doesn't it? No. This is a tricky maneuver. It's tricky even if you're doing it in real life to understand the relationship of the difference. Like that, and then twist. That would have to come up more, probably more like that, more. No, not that. I think maybe that hand would be a little bit too much. We need a sort of position like that really to start with, because it's a bit too much of a transition. Okay, it's too quick. That has more in common with that, and actually, yeah. So I think just to save that image, I'm going to duplicate it. I might not need it, but what I'm going to do is get rid of that. Well, I will get rid of that. Get rid of that. Once I've got this, it's fine because I can reuse it, but it is a bit annoying. Oops. That's it. There we go. Just got to recreate that as if it's in profile. Something like that. And not worried about the cleanup yet. I want to get the hand and the spoon in the right places. This is a fiddly maneuver, and it doesn't matter how you do it, whether it was drawn animation, stop motion, it is a fiddly one. Obviously there's a double bounce happening there, that's what I don't want. But I'm not too worried about that. I'm just looking at the first transitional moments. Now that would need to be completely different as well anyway. Let's draw another one. And let's get that redone like that. And then that redone like that. There you go, that will do. And I need to move that hand down. That's fine. It's confusing that I've got these other drawings that aren't sort of right yet. And need to keep the curves going. I'm not trying to keep it clean yet. There's a thread of logic which might not come over very easily, very well, you watching it, because there's lots of decision making in my head and I'm only looking at one part at a time. So even though I know, see, there we are, I've calmed that. You see, remember with that sort of little wobble it had with it, with the spoon handle there, it's now not doing that, which is good. But that's better. Now, the thing is, I need her to start digging into the bowl, so it needs to do... The angle of the spoon is correct, but the angle of the sludge is wrong. It needs to be more like that, because she's sort of digging into it. So this probably would need to be that. There we are. And then... I think that's right. Is that right? Yeah. Now also I've noticed that that's in front of the bowl, so let's just quickly fix that. Right, okay, it must be... Yeah, this is going to be fiddly, isn't it? Can I get away with that? And that? And that? I think so. It's fiddly work, isn't it? On the plus side, it's done that, but now I've got this sort of funny business going on. Oh, it's annoying. Too many little fiddly layers. Oh dear, how am I going to get around this? If I move the bowl back, is it now? We're back to square bloody one now. It's very annoying, this, and I didn't notice it because the hand was in the way. If I select all of this and move it forwards, damn it, okay. That better? Nope. That's better, but it isn't. Is that it? Phew, thank goodness for that. Okay, right. Yeah, sometimes you have these little hierarchical issues to deal with. There's a little bit of bit of artifacting there. I can probably fix it if I do. Nope, nope. Okay, I can just fix it if I go to the mix patcher and just take some of that. There we go. Get rid of some of these. There we go. Right. It's fiddly. This is more sort of like, I would imagine in a studio environment, if you had the budget, you'd have clean-up people do this while the animator just sort of gets on with making the movement look nice. Right. Again, I'm not worried about that yet. We can make alterations to that. I'm just going to twist that. So in real life, that would be, she's doing that thing that you do with a spoon, and then you twist it under. So this would be sort of like coming behind the hand. let's tilt it a little bit in this shot. So we've started that process, and then, but not with the hand, it just sort of looks like it. And then it comes, in reality, what's happened is the spoon's done that. So it's actually gone underneath the hand and the arm. And then you're on the other side. So again, it's back. The spoon is on the front of the arm now, and then it gets behind the arm. So hang on, let's have a look what's happening. That's actually pretty good. And it looks ugly. I'm gonna do that, and we're gonna tidy that up and make it look nice. And then the same here. So let's get that hand. Not quite. I need it dug in. Let's get that down there. Get that down there. Get it up there. Because this is the bit where she needs to flick. See, there we go. That's it. And I think she needs to dig more. If I left that movement in there, you see that sort of bend, it means that the mixture has sort of won the battle of force, because if she keeps pushing up, essentially that stick's going to go further and further and further, and it's just going to stuck there. What I need is for her to dig up into that mixture, which means that she needs to win that battle. So the next image can't bend at that fulcrum. It needs to dig up and in. She needs to win. So it needs to come up a little bit, but that angle needs to be maintained. So it digs in, you see what I mean? Like that. Because we're going to be flinging some of that batter up. There we are. Now, this is the tricky bit. The hand look completely, so the spoon's in the right place, but the hand's wrong. So I need to get that more like that. And then get the spoon more like that. I tell you what, it's really tempting as well for me to move the rest of the body, but because of the style of this piece, I can't really do that. It's got to happen pretty much stark like that. If it were me doing it in normal mode, to get even more force behind her, I would start getting her upper body up and just going with the mixture. I might do that at the very end as a flourish, but for the other two, because she's got 3 cells to throw over, so for the first 2 I'm probably going to keep it in this quite robotic, mechanical way. I think that's good. So let me get, I've got to sort out that attach patcher for this particular image. So let me just, this is number 2, so I know I'm not going to affect anything. And what I need to happen is a little bit of that sort of fleshy part of the hand, so that it's made some kind of connection. So in many respects, we don't actually need the patcher on this frame at all. Now, why is it doing that? Because it's connecting to the rest of the arm. Okay, so this is where, this is the tricky bit, you see. This is where I need to actually draw some black onto the spoon. Okay, so I'll have to do it that way. For things like this, there's no way around it. You cannot rig to this degree successfully. You've just got to art it in, you know. There we go, like that. That'll do. That's fine. It's one frame you barely notice, and actually, if anything, I need to change the artwork on the hand a little bit so it's a bit smaller. It's a bit big, that hand. So that's the artwork of the hand. And then I need to change, now where's that patcher again? There we go. Just getting it out of the way really for that shot, for that frame. There we are. Bling, bling, bling. And then now when it's coming up, that's fine, but then that isn't, so. Right, okay, so another one there. So I'll duplicate that one, and then, because in a crude kind of way, what I'm doing here is more conventional animation, really. If this was Disney quality, then you wouldn't even bother trying to do it on the fly. You'd do the movement for stirring the mixture, and then you would sort of put your special effect element hat on and start animating the liquid afterwards, because there's no point in trying to do it here. However, this is not Disney quality on purpose. This is much more crude, and so therefore it's fine to just do it on the fly, get something else extra done. There we are. So I still think that that needs to be sort of like that, just to sort of, just for a few frames to sort of emphasize the fact that she's twirled it round to a different location. Okay. Now, something like some live action reference wouldn't hurt, but I don't have time or space for that. I just have to sort of act it out in real life and sort of figure out the logistics from it there. Even if you have live action reference, doesn't necessarily make it any easier. Twirling of batons. No, I don't like that. Oops. I hate that when you accidentally hit the wrong frame. That needs to come back, that's half the problem. And then that needs to come up. So that's like that. And then boom, boom. So it needs to. There's a lot of backwards and forwards. I apologise if this is a little dull, but unfortunately animation, when it's really getting going, it can be a bit like this, I'm afraid. It's that's the reason why animation isn't part of the Olympics. I think the audience would fall asleep. I've taught animation a bit to audiences, and it's quite a stressful thing to do, because you do have to do some quite heavy lifting thinking all the time, and it's not, you know, conducive to entertainment, really. If you look at, funny enough, that's not bad. Almost there. If you look at, there's a cook from the 1970s called Fanny Craddock, which is quite a gay icon, really, because she's completely insane. She's very entertaining, but she used to do this thing during the 1950s of cooking for audiences. I'm not sure if that's a thing anymore. Maybe it is. And she would wear these very opulent dresses and wear jewellery and everything else, and cook for audiences in the Royal Albert Hall in London. And they are the oddest spectacle. I mean, you got her saying, and you add a little cheese and you add a little milk and then you put that in the oven. And I think there's something about cookery that is a little bit more visually interesting, and it's just taps into people's creativity. Same thing can't really be said of animation, really. I think as an animator, sometimes I look enviously at puppeteers like, you know, the Jim Henson lot, because you're getting a similar sort of... What you want as an animator is the reaction that a puppeteer gets, but live. You know what I mean? There's a certain amount of rehearsal they may go through, but they're able to, you know, get life out of an inanimate object instantly and get a reaction from people instantly. Whereas animators, they've got to store all that up. The benefit of an animator is that you can get a much tighter performance out of every element because you're crafting every frame, but it lacks spontaneity. There is such a thing as ad-libbing in animation, and I think it's an extremely important thing to have to keep some sense of life and the unexpected and energy into a performance. Something which live action reference can actually kill, because it clarifies the movement so much that you end up just parroting it back if you're not careful. I'm not dissing live action reference at all. It has, you know, too much non-live action reference tends to create a performance that's a bit slurry like, and it doesn't really have enough definition. Not always. And then too much live action reference creates a performance that's too much live action, and then it's not embracing the medium that it's creating. And this is even with realistic characters. You do need to stylize movement even for realistic characters, and sometimes too much live action reference can inhibit that, particularly when comedy's involved. You know, comedy is about music and about you know, beats and things like that, and live action reference can kill it, because it's also about things that you can't quantify until you're actually, you know, working with the thing. Now I would say that I need to get another pose for that, so it's more fingers on one side and it's really digging in, and at the moment we haven't got that strength of hand pose. So I'm gonna go over to this again, duplicate it, and then I'm gonna do clever things with the artwork. So I'm gonna swap it round so that it's similarly... What I want is sort of that, but not quite. So I want, it's kind of hard to describe, I want it completely flipped round the other way. By the stage. So I want, let me see, what do I want? I do want fingers. Let me get rid of that. Oh, it's not easy to... I don't think that's perhaps the best image I could have gone with, actually. Let's do this one, and then duplicate that, and then swap it round. So we're... I'm going to get rid of these two. This is, I have to say, hands are my absolute nemesis when it comes to working in 2D. I cannot stand it. If you were drawing it on, you know, traditional animation, that's fine, because it's, you know, that's fine. If you're working in stop motion, that's fine. You've got a little hand you can move around. If you're working in CG, that's fine. You can move it around. But there's something about this sort of halfway house that just, you have to sort of stop what you're doing and reposition things, and I just find it annoying. But there we go. Right, I'm going to use a rectangle, and I'm going to get the right palette, otherwise I'll... First woman, that's what I want. And, oops, quite big chunky brush. I need to shrink it down. And I'll just check actually that that's correct, because taper thickness stencil, right, so I'm glad I just checked that, because I've got to make sure that this artwork uses a particular thing, a particular texture. Let's see, agitated mild, there we are, that's what I've got to use. Right. I don't relish the prospect of going through artwork and changing the brushes that I've used. There's a reason why it's got to use that in this particular work, and that's because I'm using that brush as a means of... Now that concerns me. Why is that doing that? I've accidentally drawn that on the wrong thing, haven't I? So what I'll do is... This is another reason why I don't like doing this. Alright, cut. Go onto that hand and paste. Come on, paste please, thank you. Right, yeah. There we go. Yeah. So fill that with some weight or skin. Is that nice? Right, again, that hand is too big, so I'm just gonna shrink that down. And also manipulate that so it's a bit further up, perhaps. I will copy, move that over a bit and shrink it. Copy and paste a bigger version of it. So I've got another digit. There we are. And then just manipulate it so that... Actually, well, that might work. Let me just see how we're going. Again, just alter that so it's falling in the centre of it. There we are. It's prop work, darling. I don't do props. Actors have this problem, let alone animators. I mean, I have to say, the amount of props I've worked with over the years as an animator, I think the very first time I had to use prop work, I didn't quite know what to expect. This is a stop motion work. And of course, you've got model makers whose primary job is to make something look nice. It doesn't necessarily lend itself very well to the animator who's got to move this potentially rather awkward shaped block thing made sometimes of very heavy material and held up by a character that can barely hold its arms up using its armature. So at least with ToonBoom and Flash or whatever it might be that you're using, you don't have to worry about heaviness of object, but you still have to maintain some sense of it being a three-dimensional, heavy, solid structure, you know. And, you know, you'd have to do this on Bob the Builder where perhaps he's holding some bricks up and stuff, and you think, well, these things do actually weigh quite a bit, and he's only got little sort of silicon stubby fingers that can't grip onto anything. So what can you do? It is quite fiddly work, prop work, and it doesn't matter what medium I've used, it always is. It doesn't matter whether the puppet's made of plasticine or whether it's made from silicon or paper or whatever it might be. Prop work is fiddly. So you know, the minute you have prop work, it takes time. It always does. You know, if you can design a show where the props magically hover, like, you know, Fairly Odd Parents, perhaps, where the characters just magic things around, that's much more sensible in terms of creating, you know, something that works very well for a production. mix, mix, turn. Right, that's happening too quickly. I want it there. Take that around. You've got to maintain all these flipping curves as well. That's very annoying. Right, I want that to happen more in harmony with the idea of rolling round. That's better. There we go. I would say that looks a bit weird now. Stir. Yeah, that's better. And the only thing that's now not right is that's correct. That's yes and no. I'd extend that. Alright, let's just have another look. Alright, that's not quite right. I would say this needs to be a little bit faster at this point. Again, that hand needs to be more like that, and the spoon needs to be more like that. It's very, very fiddly work. Now, which side is the spit? If I'm doing that again, it's outside, and then that is inside. So if anything, that needs to be on the inside at this point. So it needs to go back. Yeah, this is tricky. Forward, forward, back, back, back. Forward, there, like that. This is very tricky because I need that behind the arm. Ah, there you go. Good. And again, same thing. Bit, bit, bit. Good. I would say that comes up too quickly on this frame. You need some sense of it rolling around, otherwise it doesn't look right. Again, don't worry about the tidy up, we'll tackle that later, but that is a massive movement and then it sort of bounces too quickly. It needs to, if you imagine, I'm looking at the end of the spoon here, and you just watch the end of it as a curve. There's no curve there, it's an L shape. If you look at this part here, bunk, it needs to curve around. Everything moves in the curve. So first of all, that's sort of wrong. So we need to adjust that. So again, drawing substitution, another frame, just get the end of it and move it like that. So we've sort of tricked some sense of false perspective. Then here it needs to come over a bit. And then by this stage, it needs to be here, really. Again, we'll concentrate on Ah, now do you see how much nicer that looks? Right, so again, we'll fiddle around with the hand and now. So, oops. What about that? But swapped over. If I do that one, duplicate that, and then just swap it so it's, get that, that's that. Try and get that. It doesn't necessarily have to look fantastic, it's the movement we're concerned about. There, isn't that much nicer? Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, there we go. So we're still allowing a certain amount of curve for that. If that works, then the whole thing works. Diddly diddly dee. It's a sharp curve, but it is a curve. Rolly. And it looks like she's rolling it around her hand now, which it didn't before. But it's all these little steps that you've got to go through. There we are. And then it's at this point that she's going to dig and pull up. So I'll go through that movement now. Oh dear, that's better. So with this one, I've got to then push up into it. So let's have a look at that. Now I'm conscious, if you look at this timeline here, I've got to do this 3 times, which probably get me about there, and then she's got to look round. So I've got to have time to do it. And I would say, if I go there, and then do it on ones again. There. Ones get you through. Right, okay. Dig needs to go here. And that's far too sharp a curve, so dig. Oh, okay, that's no good. That's no good. Get it back. That comes up too much, so it needs to come down. So we've got a dig that's more like that. So if anything, down a little bit more. And then up a bit, because that's too fast. Right, there's too much of a sort of twiddle. And I would say we need another 2 really. Right, again, it's happening too quickly and that curve is too shallow. Now, I would say that that happens too much of a... It needs to come up. What I want is swirl, 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 and then loop, like that. More of a loop, rather than at the moment we're just getting that movement again. I want that. And half of it, the problem is, as well as this one, so, okay. That's the front frame that's wrong, that last one. Now it's too slow. Right, there's still this ugly bit where it sort of doesn't quite know where it's going. Da -da 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 -da. Maybe I don't want that curve down. That's it. Ignore that. Right. Now, stir, 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 flick. I would say go down a bit more like that. There we go. Stir, 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 flick. Now it's at this point that she's going to flick loads of batter. The batter I'm going to have to animate as a separate pass, but what I want out of this is one of these cells either being small or bent or something like that. So it's just her arm movement that I want out of this. So I'm just going to do that. Obviously I'm going to move that forwards or backwards or something's going to happen. Maybe I have to move this back. Eep. Okay, that's not so easy, is it? Okay, I'm going to have to move that forwards. And we're just going to have to move that forwards as well. There we go. So we've got that happening with that happening. Now, this is not a realistic movement because if you were stirring that vigorously, your whole body, as I said before, would be in it. It would be wobbling around, and it frustrates me that I'm animating incorrectly on purpose. I know I'm doing it on purpose, but at least I know at the end she's going to flourish. So for a movement this big, I would move the rest of the body normally, but because this is stylized, I'm not. And I'm having to really fight against my instincts because I know I would do that, but I can't do it because it's sort of like an automaton where only one part moves and it should be all parts. So I'm just going to empty that frame. There we are, like that. And I'm probably going to do that, maybe that. There we are. So, splot. Now, let me just, what I need as well is for that to come forward. There we go. I'll just move that forward. And then when it does a twisty thing, I can just get hold of that, I think. There we are. Yeah, this arm technique is new to me, so if there are any issues, how does that render? That's fine. Right, okay. Now, when it gets to around there, you want the hand to look more conventional. So it's be more like that, I suppose, but the other way around. With the spoon also sort of like that. Quite a big movement. She's not particularly happy. So I move the arm back down, move that around again. Try and pull that so that we're getting a nice... Again, I don't quite know why it's doing this. This is a new technique, that's the reason why I haven't written about it yet, because there are still, as I can see, teething problems. I mean, I like it generally. I wish that curve deformers work more like this when I use them, because it's made my life a lot easier when repositioning her arm. And the style of the piece allows for the size changing, so that's, I'm not too worried about it. Let's get that back. At some point I might have to get an old frame back. See what I mean? It's a bit strange the way this behaves. It's a lot better than before I fiddled around with it. I think there's just something getting caught. There we are. But I'll sort of reset it so that I don't get this problem again. Right, okay. Fling. There we go. So nice. Fling. There we are. I want to try and get some sense of her actually holding the flipping thing. That's it. Now let's go back to a frame that I liked. So let's just nick that one. Copy and paste, or paste it here. And then we're back again, you see. That. And we've got that one, which I don't want to show, so that one. And then get that back in the right position. So again, we're going to be shoveling another scoop. Right, I don't like that flap. Probably because that's too tight an angle. The curve here needs to be more like that. What's that? Fling. Which needs to get a bit of energy enough for the next fling. That's it. And the next push, she needs to push it back in again. Fling. And then we need to go in again, so it'll be that, I would have thought. So copy and paste. Reposition so that it's kind of in the right place. It's funny how is that different to that? Why am I getting that? Must be something I'm not copying and pasting to do with this that's not giving me the same result. It might be that, maybe, who knows. Anyway, I hope you can get me through the shot. It's very important to experiment though, because I think by and large it's saving me quite a lot of time. This, it's just, you know, dealing with new techniques, you always get something that's a little bit out of the ordinary. There we are. I don't want to break the energy of that. That's it. Right, again, that needs to be more in there. I don't want to sort of, I don't want to there we are. There we are. So another one. So again, this is all ones, I think. And you get the idea. I could carry on and on and on. I'm not going to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to animate just another scoop like this, and then in the next one I'm going to show how I'm going to get these cells to sort of look as if they're coming out of the bowl. I think that's probably the best thing. So yeah, let's just get that last scoop done. digging up into that bowl there. And then I think it'll be at this point that the spoon needs to be released from its prisons. There we are, like that. Let's try and get it up a bit there. Jump, jump. Now, this is odd because now it's behaving more like I expected it to. It's, you know, I think it has tendencies to get a bit tangled, this design, but for, I'd say 80% of the time, it works very well, predictably, and actually, you know, saved me a lot of time. That movement would have been a lot more fiddly to do. And since that's her thing, I'm glad that I don't have to worry about it. Worst case scenario, if I need to go back to more conventional arms, I can make another puppet very quickly. Sorry, rather another arm set that doesn't have all of this stuff that I designed for her in it. And in fact, I've designed puppets where you have a switch and it says, okay, we're now going over to this kind of design for this part and this design for this part, so that it does make certain tasks a bit easier, you know. Often for flying or something like that, where an arm has to become a wing or something. So here we go. This is where it starts to get weird when it sort of... It doesn't do it here, but when it's twisted up like that, what I think I might have to do... Can I rotate the... No, I can't. Can I rotate? No, I can't. What I could have built in is a sort of rotator to rotate the entire structure of the arm, but I haven't done that, thinking, oh, it just does that, because it does rotate it, but it sort of gets pinched at some point. So I have to sort of pull it apart and do clever things so that the structure doesn't have that problem. Oh dear, it's even worse than it was. Can this rotate? It does, but... by gum. It is fiddly. I knew I'd have problems with this arm. Oh, I was suspecting I might occasionally. I mean, it works, as I said, it works a lot better now than it did when I first created it. There were a lot of issues. But I stand by it. I think it's a good design, but I just wonder if there are a couple of ways that I can fix that pinching. There might not be. That'll do. Then we come back. Spit. I mean, the way she moves is quite hieroglyphic-like. I wouldn't say that she moves in a realistic way at all. The closest this is so far, actually, is working on Pingu. The character movements of those were delightfully stylized. They didn't move realistically at all, and it was very freeing to have a character like that. I haven't had that much in my career. See how far away that dot is now. It's sort of what is actually going on here. Can I get something like that back? Yes and no. I think that's not carrying over. Everything else is, but that isn't. Also, I don't know anyway. That's fine. That's fine. I have to keep telling myself that crude animation for this particular character is wanted and is fine. it's always a bit embarrassing doing deliberately crude animation for an audience. You know, you have to have a lot of guts to say, yes, this animation's bad and I'm happy about it, you know. I think when the guys first made South Park, I think there's probably something in them that thought, I hope this works, because it was, I mean, it was, you accept it more now, but at the time I think it was even more extraordinary that these characters moved in the way that they did. They really were deliberately bad. I think South Park is probably the closest thing to an animated puppet show, because it you know, they were able to get episodes out in like a month. It didn't take them long to make at all, on purpose. They were able to churn it out. And they were able to concentrate on writing. But then it could be fairly topical, couldn't it? Because you didn't have to worry about, you know, refining this and refining that. Now it's at this point, because this is the final movement, where I'm going to do a bit of a flourish. So I'm going to start anyway. So the next frame, the spoon goes actually in, like that. It's upside down, right? So like that. And I'm going to put, now where is it? I just select, oh, it's the line, right, and then go here and choose something. There we are. Like that. It goes in, and then actually her body will lean into it. So if I get hold of her upper body like that, and make some adjustments to her so that she starts looking as if she's leaning into something. Whoops. So let me just see if I can get, there we go, like that. Now this is going to be very interesting to see if I can actually make this work, because there's a lot of elements here that move. You see what I mean about emphasizing? You can already sense the sense of, I'm driving my spoon into this and I'm actually using my entire body to do it. Whereas you haven't had that previously. It's just turn, 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 slurp, slurp, and then I'm now going to use my entire body to get the last bit out. So there we go. Again, that I've got to calm that down, because the movement's not going to be that good on purpose. You know, it's interesting. If you look at what was that Mickey Mouse cartoon that they made fairly recently, and it was using the old designs of Mickey and everything else, and it was 3D. So it had 2D drawings, and then it went CGI at some points when Mickey and the characters would sort of jump out of the screen. But it was trying to replicate the hosepipe animation of yesteryear, but it still looked too good. There were little flourishes, little things that happened in that cartoon that just wouldn't have happened at the time. They wouldn't. The characters moved in a much more robotic way, and they managed to get some of it, but I think I do get the impression the animators just couldn't bring themselves to not do certain little flourishes, because it just hurt too much. You know, it takes a lot of guts to animate badly. When you know what you're doing, that's the point. If you don't know what you're doing, then it's just freed up completely. Do what you like. Just gonna smush that in there. There we go. Somebody at the door. My chap will answer that. Hope. There we go. I'd better see who that is, actually. Nobody else is. Or is it him at the door? Oh, I think it is him at the door. Just a second. Oh, sorry about that. Right, okie doke. Okay, so we're back to her. She's going to move her body around. There we are. Okay. Now, that's where I want her arm to be, but the graphics of her arms join is prohibiting me from doing that. So I have a choice of either keeping that correct and then just moving that back, and then moving this forwards with the hand possibly coming with it. Like that, there we are, and then moving that around there. So I had to do a bit of shuffling to get that right. There we are. That worked better than I expected, thank goodness. Right, okay, so that's stir, 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 stir. Yeah. Okay, and I think because this is, need to get that in there. There we are. Move her face around. I'm going to change her expression in a minute. I would say her expression is secondary, so I'm not going to do it yet. One last movement and then it's let's fling up. Right. I mean, you can see how much more interesting the movement looks when the rest of the body's involved, can't you? But you know, and I was tempted to do that, but you have to restrain yourself. You know, not animating something is actually much harder than animating it, I find. It's a controversial opinion what I'm about to say now, but I do not like a lot of the animation by Don Bluth very much. I mean, it's gorgeous quality movement, but it just doesn't stop moving. I think that's the problem I have. I prefer things that are more restrained. Disney, on the whole, I think managed to actually get that balance right between moving it and not moving it. I would say Brad Bird is probably one of the best exponents of that, because he can do a lovely blend of beautiful quality movement, and he can do it himself personally, but he knows when to stop moving, and I think that is the real mark of somebody who knows what they're doing. Myself, but that's me. Other people absolutely adore Don Bluth, and you know, everyone's to their own. It takes all sorts to make a world. You know, it's like liking spinach or carrots, isn't it? It's personal taste. I mean, there are times when I don't like my own movement. And you think, oh, I wish I could do it like X or whatever it might be. Right. Okay, so this is going to be on ones. So final flourish. I wish she was happy, because I could make it look so much nicer if she was happier, but she's not. So she's going to sort of look at it like that. Got to be careful I don't get that halfway thing up. again, her hand probably needs to be more like that, but the other way round. I would say this curl needs to be much more like that. So I don't like this curl that's happening here at all. Just moving that back. You can't tell, but I am. Right, and then I need to straighten it out. Now this is one thing that the other arm type would probably do more easily, but there we are. It's not bad. I mean, all I want, you know, if anybody from ToonBoom is watching, this is what I want out of another kind of curve deformer. I want, you've got normally this sort of thing with two levers coming out. What I want is move this bit, move that bit, and then have this thing in the middle that essentially moves the two levers towards it. And if I move it up, that one gets smaller. If I move it down, that one gets smaller. And I'm able to just rotate the curve with just one thing moving it around. I love that. This is what this is trying to do, and does succeed for a large portion of the time, but then occasionally... yeah, anyway, see, I'll have another crack at it, I think. Because it does work very well, but there's issues with it, sadly. Anyway. That's quite nice. So back we go with the body, and back we go with that. Right, I would say I need to move that forwards now. What's that? Yep, just doing strange stuff again. It's when I put there. Just checking when I there. Okay. Move that down. I've got to use that brown donut to do that. Yeah. Oh, no. I hate it when I do that. I really, really hate it when I do that. Got to get it on the frame. That's it. Right, let's go over. Let's go. Move that through. Now. Got to move this. There we are. That's where I want it. Can it? Whoa! No, can I just move that there? Okay. I can do it a bit. I'll have to. Can I rotate that? Hold it like that there. Move that round. We'll have to go soon. Right. That's really nice, although it needs to come up a bit higher on that frame. And then I would say it needs to come up really high on that frame to maintain a curve that goes like that on this frame. That's it. I would say it still shouldn't come down yet. It should carry on. Now, her head does that, and her head does that, and her head. Oh, I could have used that. Never mind. I keep forgetting what I can do. Right there, there. Oh, I see. I can rotate her head there. Okay. Some of the things I didn't realise I could do with her. That's it. So one more frame, I think, like that. So that means I can get that there. What I love about constraints is that they effortlessly allow subtle squash and stretch. You can get some lovely squash and stretch movements. So with her dress there. Stir, 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 fling, fling, fling. And I would say that needs to come over more. That's still not enough. I'm going to do these on 2s. I've got to pull that arm up. I would say go down with that as well. I pull this down a bit more, down over here, and really go down, and really go down. That's better. Just push that curve a bit more, you know what I mean? Move that round. Because that's not being very nice, I now can move that. I would say that, but then move it around like that. And then move that. I would say that needs a bit of help. That needs to start coming around more. And needs to come down more. That needs to come there. And it is at this point where it becomes less of a science and you just know where things go. You know? And you cheat certain things to make them look nicer, and that goes back now. There we go. I mean, I'm quite pleased with how easy I'm able to manipulate her to get the arcs working. You know, we've gone from those fiddly little movements of her stirring to something that's broader and more fun. I mean, you come across this time and time again with animation where you know, the subtler shots are the really difficult ones, and they're the ones that get the least praise because they're the ones that don't look very interesting. Whereas the ones where you've got tap dancing monkeys and, you know, elephants doing the Charleston, they're actually the easier ones. Because they have broader movements and they're more defined and everything. The ones where you're stirring your tea and picking your nose and looking up at the, you know, that takes forever to do. And who cares about that? And I think we're coming back to, you know, the Don Bluth thing where he makes stirring the tea into the operatic. And I just, you know, it's tiring. Too much of that is tiring to watch. You know, you've got to calm it down. It's not about creating a lovely piece of test animation. It's creating a lovely piece of acting. Yes, it's got to have a certain amount of panache to it. Well, one would hope so. I mean, I'm probably over animating this now. Got to calm it down again. Gonna have her come up a bit. I'm just fidgeting now. This is the stuff. She doesn't really do anything much at the end of the shot because that's not where your eye is supposed to be looking. So that's the other thing. It's very much upstage, downstage. You don't want to upstage what you really want to look at. So you don't want a character flapping their arms around if that's not what you're supposed to be looking at. You want to emphasize certain things. And, you know, again, I know I keep mentioning Don Bluth in a disparaging way, but I think that's part of the reason why I find his stuff so difficult is that you think, what am I supposed to be looking at here? You don't want it to be dead, but you don't want it to be... This is really confusing. But you don't want it to be... This is not an easy thing to move now. But you don't want it to be... you don't want it to be dead, but you don't want it to be moving so much that you don't actually know what you're supposed to be looking at. Just clicking between frames now, trying to get the right movement. These little, what I would call fairing shots, where you're trying to sort of smooth the movement. I'm not sure if that term fairing is something you hear anywhere else. I've not heard it anywhere other than stop motion animation, and even that might be regional. I don't know where I picked that up, fairing. But that's what I refer to this as, where you're sort of feathering the last movements to sort of make them come to a comfortable, pleasant halt, rather than it looking as if the animation has just suddenly been, a magic spell has been cast and she's in stone. Oh, that's all right. Flirt, flirt, flirt. I might do one more up the head. Up the head. I don't like that last movement. Got rid of it then. I think that head movement was a bit of a mistake. I'm just going to get rid of that one. I think, because I'm trying to remember, keep it crude, keep it crude. There we are. I think that'll do. There's not too much follow through for a character like that. Yeah, I think that'll be all right. And just so that I kind of know what's going to happen with this slurry, I just want to kind of give an idea of what's going to happen here. How does that look? I think if you start rotating it, it doesn't look right. It needs to sort of rotate in a random order. Let's just do that and see what happens. Randomly twirling it around. Oh, hang on. I'm trying to sort of create a piece of animation with it that isn't Let's just see what happens. That's not bad. Yeah, that sort of works. I know it's like sort of jelly-like. It's not meant to be realistic. If I was trying to go for a realistic look, that ain't it. But for this, I think that works. It fits. I wonder if I should have it move a bit when she pushes it in a bit there. Yeah, just a little bit of agitation works quite well. There we go. Yeah, just a little bit. Now, if I'm right, this line should fidget quite a bit when it's moved anyway, so yeah, there we go. It's just enough. So this is her so far. Yeah, I think that's nice. That does for me. I mean, I might not even need to make her blink or anything. I think that's fine. what I need to do next is animate the celluloid and little splats and little bits and pieces. But yeah, I think that's good. Well, I'm happy that for the most part she's actually pretty easy to animate, so that's good. Yeah, good. Okay, we're on our way. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this perambulation. I hope it's given you some kind of insight as to some working methods into how to sort of animate a character like this. What I'll do is I'll do all that and then we'll get somewhere. But yeah, speak to you soon. Hope you're well and goodbye.